You ever notice how everyone's always in a hurry, but nobody's actually going anywhere? It's like the whole planet's on a treadmill, sweating, panting, running for dear life, but the scenery never changes. You look around and see people typing, scrolling, calling, organizing, scheduling, all that motion, and not a single goddamn inch of meaning being covered. It's like watching ants on a sugar spill. A whole lot of crawling, not a lot of thinking. We've turned business into a religion. People worship the grind now. It's not enough to live. You gotta hustle. You gotta be productive. You gotta be doing something, even if that something is nothing that matters. We live in a world where being constantly occupied is the new proof of worth. Nobody asks, are you happy? They ask, or are you busy? And if you're not, they look at you like you're defective, like you missed a meeting with God. What do you mean you're not busy? Don't you have a side hustle? Don't you check your emails on the toilet? The horror! Because that's what the system wants, not thinkers, not creators, but performers, actors pretending to be indispensable in a play no one cares to watch. Everyone's got a full calendar, a crowded brain, and an empty heart. And it's funny because half the stuff people do all day could vanish tomorrow, and the universe wouldn't even hiccup. You think nature cares about your quarterly report? The sun doesn't give a damn how many emails you sent before lunch. But still, people tap that keyboard like their soul's on the line. They're in a trance. They've mistaken movement for meaning. The human race has become a bunch of hamsters convincing themselves the wheel is progress. Look at me go! I'm getting somewhere! No, you're not. You're just getting dizzy. People love to say they're grinding what? Exactly, their sanity, their purpose, their will to live. Because that's what it looks like. You see them in coffee shops, all hunched over glowing screens, chewing on anxiety like it's breakfast. You ask them what they're working on and they don't even know. They just say, something important, which usually means something meaningless that someone else told me was important. We've become slaves to invisible expectations, always chasing the next meeting, the next deadline, the next meaningless milestone, just so we can look like we're doing something. And people wear exhaustion like it's a trophy. You ever notice that? Nobody brags about sleeping well anymore. It's all man. I only got 3 hours of sleep last night. Like that's an accomplishment. Like we should hand out medals for sleep deprivation. The culture treats rest like weakness, silence like laziness, reflection like failure. If you stop for even a second, someone's there to whisper, you're falling behind. Behind what? Behind whom? We're all heading to the same dirt hole in the ground, just at different speeds. But no, people can't slow down. They think if they stop, they'll disappear. Like the moment they're not busy, the universe will revoke their existence. That's what society's done, tied your worth to your productivity. Not your kindness, not your curiosity, not your creativity, your output. You are your to-do list now, and God forbid you don't check every box, because then you're not motivated. You're not driven. You're falling behind. Falling behind in what? The race to nowhere, the contest for most pointless motion. We've built a whole economy around pretending to be occupied. Look at offices. Whole buildings full of people clicking, scrawling, typing nonsense. Meetings that could have been emails. Emails that could have been silence, and silence that could have been peace. The modern workplace is a theater of the absurd. You sit there for 8 hours doing work that no one will remember by Friday, all to maintain the illusion that you're part of something important. And if you question it, they call you cynical. They don't want you to see through it, because the moment you do, the game's over. It's all about appearance. You don't need to be busy, you just need to look busy. You know that trick where you keep a spreadsheet open while scrolling through your phone? That's modern survival. Because in the corporate jungle, perception beats purpose. As long as your boss walks by and sees your screen glowing with numbers, you're safe. Doesn't matter if those numbers mean nothing. They just have to look official. Everyone's playing the same game. They don't even talk about meaning anymore. They talk about optics. How does this look? That's the new question of morality. Not is it right or is it true? But does it look like I'm working? And the funny part is people aren't even fooling anyone. Everybody knows it's all theater. The bosses know their employees are pretending. The employees know the bosses are pretending. And they all agree silently to keep pretending, because that's the only way the system survives. It's a collective hallucination where everyone's complicit. Nobody wants to be the first to say, this is bullshit. Because if you say that out loud, suddenly you're the problem. You're negative, uncooperative, not a team player. Translation, you're awake. We've replaced genuine contribution with busy work. People used to make things, build things, fix things. Now they manage processes and align strategies and curate content, which means they write emails about PowerPoints summarizing meetings about nothing. We invented an entire language to make nonsense sound noble. Synergy, optimization, deliverables. You know what deliverable used to mean? A baby. Now it means a PDF nobody reads. You walk into a coffee shop at AM and it looks like a stock exchange. Everyone glued to laptops, earbuds in, multitasking themselves into madness. And not one of them is changing the world. They're just keeping the illusion alive. Tap, scroll, type, sip, repeat. Modern ritual, the church of fake productivity. And the priest is your smartphone, whispering reminders of how behind you are. You think religion had guilt. Wait until you skip a day of grind. That little voice in your head starts screaming, you didn't post, you didn't check in, you didn't optimize your workflow. People are repenting to apps now. And it's not just work, it's life. Even our leisure has become labor. People can't even relax without trying to monetize it. You can't just read a book. You have to post it, hashtag it, make a review video about it. You can't just take a walk. You got to track your steps, share your route, prove you were efficiently relaxing. We've turned everything into a performance of productivity. You can't just be anymore, you have to be seen being. The show never stops, and the audience is everyone else faking the same thing. And deep down, everyone knows it's empty. That's why people are anxious all the time, because they're running on fumes of purpose. They've built their identity around business, and they can't admit it's hollow. You take away their work, and they collapse because there's nothing underneath. They've confused activity with identity. They think if they stop doing, they'll stop existing. And that's the real tragedy. We've built a society where silence feels like death. What's wild is none of this was an accident. The machine was designed this way. Keep people occupied, and they won't think. Keep them chasing, and they won't question. Keep them busy, and you can sell them anything. New phones, new goals, new distractions. You can even sell them their own time back. That's what vacations are now. Little breaks they have to earn from a life they didn't choose. Work 50 weeks a year so you can rest for 2. That's not balance. That's captivity with permission slipped. And people actually believe they're free because they get to choose their distractions. Hey, I picked this hamster wheel myself. Great. It's still a wheel. You ever notice how nobody even questions why they're in the race? They just wake up, grab their coffee, check their phone, and start running like someone fired a starter pistol in their brain. No reflection, no pause, no thought, just pure conditioned motion. Because if you stop for one damn second, you might realize the track you're on doesn't go anywhere. But that's dangerous. Thinking's bad for business. Reflection doesn't sell subscriptions. Awareness doesn't upgrade your device. So instead, we've built a world where thinking is optional and business is mandatory. You can be wrong, empty, lost, but as long as you're busy, you're safe. People don't live anymore. They schedule living. They've got calendars full of self-care, networking, productivity sprints. It's like they're running a small corporation called Me Incorporated. And you know what the mission statement is? Pretend to matter. That's the real motto of modern society. We've built this massive machine of motion, and everyone's afraid to stop turning the gears, even when the gears don't connect to anything real. And it's not even efficient. For all this talk about productivity, people are accomplishing less than ever. They spend their days replying to emails that reply to emails about meetings that schedule future meetings. Whole lifetimes disappear inside inboxes. That word says it all. Inbox, a box you live in. A digital coffin for your time. People drown in notifications and call it being connected. They're not connected. They're consumed. We've created a species of digital laborers who mistake burnout for bravery. I'm exhausted has become a status symbol. You say you're tired, and people nod with respect, like you just came back from war. But the only battle you fought was against your own attention span. And you lost repeatedly because the system wants you tired. Tired people don't rebel. Tired people don't ask questions. Tired people just want to sleep. And when they can't, they buy things instead. The perfect cycle. Keep them awake, keep them buying, keep them busy, keep them blind. And this obsession with being busy, it's contagious. It's spread like a virus from work to school to home. Kids are growing up thinking rest is a mistake. Parents brag about how packed their children's schedules are. Haze in soccer, piano, robotics, debate, coding. You'd think they're building the next prime minister, not a 10-year-old who just wants a sandwich and a nap. We're training kids to fill every second so they never learn how to be bored. But boredom is where creativity lives. It's where you actually meet yourself. And they'll never get that chance because we're too scared of stillness to let them feel it. You talk to someone these days, and half the time they're not even listening. They're nodding while checking their phone, pretending to care, pretending to be present. We've reached a point where pretending is the default. We pretend to work, pretend to care, pretend to rest, pretend to love, pretend to live. Everything's performance now. We're a species of actors in a never-ending play called Look Busy, and the audience is just as fake as the performance. Nobody's watching. Everyone's too busy performing their own scene. And the irony, the more people do, the less they feel. Because when you're always moving, you don't have time to notice what's missing. You don't have time to see that the ladder you're climbing is leaning against nothing. People reach success and feel empty because they've spent years chasing the appearance of purpose instead of the experience of meaning. They've invested their whole lives into looking busy, and when the show's over, They realize they never actually lived, but society doesn't want you to realize that. It keeps dangling new distractions, new goals, new shiny illusions. Oh, you're burnout. That's okay. Just buy this planner. Download this mindfulness app. Schedule some self-care. They sell you solutions to the problems they created. They want you to manage your misery like a subscription plan, monthly renewal, automatic billing, no refunds. And people go along with it because slowing down feels dangerous. It means confronting the silence. And in that silence, you might hear the truth whispering, none of this matters. You ever walk through an office late at night and see that one light still on? Some poor soul still typing away, thinking they're changing the world by sending another email. They tell themselves they're dedicated, passionate, committed. No, they're scared. Scared to stop. Scared to go home and face the emptiness waiting there. Because when you've built your whole life around being needed, the scariest thing in the world is realizing you're not. That's why people never take real breaks. They're afraid the world will keep spinning without them, and it will. That's the punchline. It always does. And don't even get me started on multitasking. People brag about that now like it's a superpower. I can do 5 things at once. No, you can't. You can do 5 things badly at once. You're just dividing your attention to smaller, dumber pieces. But hey, as long as you look frantic, people assume you're productive. You could be juggling chainsaws made of paperwork, and someone will say, wow, such dedication. Dedication to what, though? To noise, to distraction, to keeping your brain too occupied to notice it's being wasted. We've glorified confusion. The more chaotic your life looks, the more society claps for you. Look at her, she's so busy. She must be doing something right. Yeah, she's doing something. She's having a nervous breakdown in slow motion. But nobody sees that because burnout looks respectable now. We dress it up in fancy words like ambition and commitment. We've even turned mental collapse into a branding opportunity. Post your struggle online, hashtag it, monetize it. I'm so overwhelmed, guys. Here's my affiliate link for stress supplements. People don't live lives anymore. They maintain appearances. They curate themselves like museum exhibits. Every smile, every caption, every gesture is calculated for optics. Because in a world addicted to looking busy, authenticity is dangerous. If you tell people you're not grinding, they'll assume you're failing. If you say you're content, they'll assume you've given up. You can't win. You either fake motion or get labeled lazy. But you know what's lazier? Running from your own truth every day and calling it ambition. And deep down, everyone's tired, not just physically tired, existentially tired. You can see it in their eyes, that glaze of quiet panic. The kind you get when you've been moving too fast for too long and can't remember where you started. But nobody admits it. Instead, they double down. They pile on more commitments, more plans, more projects. Because maybe if they stay busy enough, they won't feel the emptiness. Maybe if they run faster, it won't catch them. But it always does. It always does. Here's the thing nobody wants to hear. Slowing down isn't failure, it's rebellion. It's an act of defiance in a culture that wants you to run yourself into the ground for nothing. When you stop, even for a moment, you start to see how ridiculous it all is. You notice how the most frantic people are the least fulfilled, how the loudest hustlers are the loneliest, how the system keeps rewarding the same nonsense just to keep everyone distracted. You stop mistaking noise for life, because life isn't busy, it's aware, it's quiet, present, deliberate. You don't find meaning by racing faster, you find it by realizing there was nowhere to race to in the first place. But that's the punchline society's terrified of, that all this frantic motion, all this progress might just be a loop designed to keep you too dizzy to notice you're standing still. The next time someone brags about how busy they are, just look at them and ask, busy doing what? Watch the silence hit them, because they don't know, they never do. They've confused their calendar with their soul. And if you take away their appointments, there's nothing left. But maybe, just maybe, in that nothing, there's finally room for something real. Because the truth is, motion isn't meaning, noise isn't progress, and pretending to matter is the fastest way to forget that you do. And when the show's over, all that business won't mean a damn thing. Because the only thing that ever really mattered was what you did when you finally stopped pretending to be important. You ever notice how everything's become important these days? Every email, every meeting, every notification, all stamped with this fake sense of urgency, like the fate of humanity depends on your response to a memo about quarterly projections. People are out here acting like answering emails is equivalent to saving lives. We've turned trivial nonsense into sacred duty, and we wear it like armor to hide the fact that nothing we're doing really matters. You see them on the train, laptop open, phone in hand, sweating bullets over a PowerPoint presentation that's going to be forgotten faster than last week's weather. They call it making a difference. Yeah, a difference to your blood pressure. We live in this giant simulation of seriousness. Everything's so goddamn vital now. People schedule emergency meetings about font sizes. They have strategy sessions about hashtags. You've got executives arguing over which shade of blue inspires more consumer confidence. Like they're painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. You can't even laugh anymore because the joke's real. This is the world we built, a world where the trivial is worshipped and the real is ignored. We celebrate noise, we glorify paperwork, we canonize useless effort. People don't chase meaning anymore, they chase validation. They want titles, not truth. They want to sound important, not be important. Vice President of Operations, a senior executive of strategic engagement, global coordinator of synergistic relations. What the hell does that even mean? Half the titles in the modern world sound like someone shook a bag of buzzwords and just grabbed 3 at random. You can't even tell what people do anymore, because most of them don't do anything real. They administrate, they oversee, they align things. They live in a cloud of artificial significance. Terrified that one day someone's going to notice they're just rearranging digital chairs on the deck of a sinking ship. And the best part, the more meaningless your job is, the more serious you have to look doing it. It's like a law. People in truly important jobs, doctors, firefighters, teachers, they don't need to look busy, they are busy. But the ones who spend all day moving imaginary money or managing imaginary problems, they've got the 1,000-yard stare, the power suits, the don't talk to me, I'm essential walk. They build entire personalities around the illusion of importance because deep down, they know the whole thing's smoke and mirrors. They're playing pretend in an adult sandbox, calling it the economy. We've built a society that rewards the appearance of contribution more than contribution itself. You don't have to make something real. You just have to make it look like you're doing something real. You don't have to fix anything. You just have to hold a meeting about fixing it. We've created an ecosystem of professional illusionists, all maintaining this fragile performance where everyone agrees to act like what they're doing matters. And as long as nobody says the emperor's naked, the charade continues. You walk into an office building and it's like a movie set. Desks lined up like props, monitors glowing with the soft hum of delusion. Everyone typing, clicking, pretending to manage deliverables. What deliverables? Nobody's delivering anything. They're updating spreadsheets, forwarding documents, touching base, aligning cross-departmental objectives. It's a whole lexicon of meaninglessness designed to disguise the fact that the modern workforce produces nothing of actual value. They produce proof of work, not work itself. You don't make things anymore. You make slides about things. You don't solve problems. You schedule discussions about possibly solving them later. And that's the tragic comedy. The further we drift from reality, the more seriously we take ourselves. The guy fixing a broken water pipe doesn't need a TED Talk. The woman farming your food doesn't have to sync up with a stakeholder. But the person making a vision board for company culture, they need a team of 15 and a mission statement. We've taken the least consequential jobs and inflated them into full-blown religions. Every company now has a chief happiness officer, a professional optimist paid to convince everyone that the meaningless work they're doing is somehow noble, and the system feeds on it. The illusion of importance keeps the machine running. If people realized how little of what they do actually matters, the whole thing would crumble overnight. That's why they keep you distracted with fake responsibilities. They call it ownership. You're not owning anything, you're just babysitting busy work. But they hand you a shiny badge, a business card, and a performance review, and you start believing you're a crucial gear in the grand mechanism of progress. Spoiler alert, you're not. You're a cog in a blender, and nobody even knows who turned it on. And it's not just jobs, it's everything. Our whole culture is obsessed with blowing up the meaningless and burying the meaningful. People treat celebrity gossip like sacred scripture, while ignoring their own neighbors. They'll debate for hours about who got snubbed at an award show, but couldn't tell you the name of the kid living 2 doors down. We've replaced empathy with entertainment. Outrage is easier than awareness. It's not enough to be informed. You got to perform being informed. That's why social media exists. It's the digital temple of fake importance. Everyone's a preacher now, sermonizing about things they don't understand, performing moral theater for strangers they don't care about. And the irony is, people don't even believe their own performances. They know it's all hollow, but the system's built on that exact hollowness. The world doesn't want authenticity. It wants activity. Keep the noise up, keep the outrage going, keep sharing, posting, reacting. Doesn't matter what it's about, as long as the wheel keeps spinning. And people feed it willingly, because being seen caring feels more important than actually caring. You get applause for pretending now. Actual compassion, that's inefficient. Doesn't trend well. Look at the way people talk about work-life balance. You can't even have a hobby anymore without turning it into a brand. You bake cookies on the weekend. Suddenly you're a home-based culinary entrepreneur. You like painting for fun. Now you've got to open an Etsy shop and monetize your passion. Every quiet joy, every private pleasure has to become a product. Because if it's not productive, it's not valuable. We've turned creativity into commerce and passion into performance. People don't create because they love something. They create to be validated for loving it. And this obsession with importance, it's like a drug. The more people chase it, the emptier they feel. Because no matter how high you climb in the illusion, there's always someone higher. Someone with a flashier title, a bigger following, a louder voice. So people keep running, keep reaching, keep pretending, terrified to admit that the ladder they're on doesn't lead anywhere. It just loops back into itself, feeding the same ego that's never satisfied. We even measure self-worth in metrics now, like followers, engagement, digital proof that you exist. Because if no one sees it, it doesn't count, right? You could save a life quietly, and it wouldn't mean as much as posting a photo of you holding a charity check. We've created a morality of visibility where being good isn't enough. You have to advertise it, and it's killing the soul. Because every time we trade sincerity for spectacle, we lose a little more of what makes us human, and people can feel it, that ache underneath the performance. They can't name it, but it's there. It's the weight of all the fake importance crushing the real stuff underneath. The quiet moments that actually matter. Listening, loving, noticing. They've been smothered under layers of noise. Nobody wants to sit in silence anymore because silence makes you confront how shallow the show's become. The volume's always cranked up because the truth sounds scary when it's whispering. But the system loves it. The machine thrives on your confusion. It doesn't need you to believe in what you're doing. It just needs you to keep doing it. Keep typing, keep buying, keep scrolling. The illusion of importance keeps the gears turning. As long as you think what you're doing matters, you won't ask what it's all for. And if you ever do start to ask, they've got a new distraction ready, a promotion, a gadget, a cause, a crisis, whatever it takes to keep your mind off the emptiness. That's the real genius of it. The system doesn't oppress you with chains. It drowns you in purpose. It hands you a million things to care about, most of them irrelevant, and you waste your life juggling them like a circus clown, convinced the act is noble. You're not free, you're busy. And business is the most effective prison ever invented. No bars, no guards, no escape, just endless motion in the name of nothing. And the wildest part, people defend it. They defend their own cage. You tell someone maybe their job doesn't matter, and they get offended like you insulted their mother. Hey, I'm adding value. They say value to who? To the spreadsheet gods? To the invisible shareholders who wouldn't know your name if it was stapled to their dividends. People cling to these illusions because the alternative, admitting they're wasting their lives, is too terrifying. So they double down. They fill the silence with jargon. We're driving engagement. We're building synergy. No, you're not. You're burning daylight to justify a paycheck. And that's the trick of the whole thing. They make you part of the illusion so you'll protect it. Once your identity is tied to the nonsense, you'll fight anyone who threatens it. It's self-policing propaganda. The perfect scam. You think you're climbing a ladder, but the ladder's on wheels, and the people pushing it are laughing all the way to the bank. They sell you importance, rent you relevance, and by the time you realize you never owned either, you're too tired to care. Every once in a while, someone sees through it. They wake up one morning and think, wait a minute, none of this is real. And they try to step off the hamster wheel. But that's when the fear hits. Because when you stop pretending, you lose your place in the show. People stop inviting you to the meetings. You become unmotivated, disengaged, not aligned with company values. Translation, you stopped acting. You broke character. You remembered what real feels like. And the system hates that. It needs actors, not people. Look at how the language itself keeps the illusion alive. Everything's exaggerated. Every product's revolutionary. Every feature's game-changing. Every app is disrupting something. You can't just do a good job anymore. You have to transform the industry. You can't just help a customer. You have to deliver an exceptional end-to-end experience. It's all hyperbole designed to make the trivial sound cosmic. Because if we stop talking like that, the emptiness would echo too loud. Even politics runs on this same illusion of importance. You get these speeches about historic moments every other week. This vote will change everything. Then nothing changes. Just new slogans for the same circus. It's all theater. Outrage theater, patriotism theater, progress theater. Everyone playing their role, pretending the performance matters while the real problems, hunger, loneliness, inequality, stay backstage where nobody looks. And if you do try to point it out, they call you cynical. Because the worst crime in a world built on pretense is honesty. And what's funny is the older civilizations actually knew how ridiculous they were. The kings and priests, they admitted it. They built temples and said, yep, this is all for show. But now we've industrialized the ritual. We don't burn incense. We burn out. We don't bow to idols. We worship metrics. We don't offer sacrifices. We offer our attention, our creativity, our peace of mind, all to feed an illusion that we're doing something grand while the ground under us keeps shifting. You walk into an airport, and it's the perfect symbol of this madness. Everyone rushing, stressed, urgent, but half of them don't even know why. They're traveling for meetings that could have been phone calls, conferences that don't change a damn thing. The whole place hums with artificial importance. You see businessmen pacing like generals, barking into phones about deliverables like they're coordinating a war effort. But what they're really doing is trying to fill the void between departure and arrival with noise so they don't have to face how empty it all feels. We've mistaken coordination for contribution. We think because we're constantly adjusting, refining, optimizing, we must be improving. But all we're doing is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, trying to get a better view of the iceberg. The illusion's gotten so deep, we've convinced ourselves that maintenance is progress. We patch holes in a sinking ship and call it innovation. And technology, man, that's the shrine of fake importance. Every new gadget promises to empower you, to revolutionize productivity. They don't empower you, they tether you. You've got people wearing smartwatches to track how little time they have left to think. Phones buzzing every 30 seconds like little electric leashes. You can't even stand in line without checking notifications. Just to remind yourself that you're still needed. You're not needed, you're available. Big difference. The machine wants you available because availability looks like importance. We're so deep in the illusion we've started confusing urgency with existence. The more urgent something feels, the more real it seems. That's why people love drama. Drama gives them a sense of purpose. We're in crisis mode, they say, like that's a good thing. They thrive on chaos because calm feels meaningless. Calm doesn't make you feel important, it makes you feel human. And that's the one thing this system can't sell back to you. Humanity doesn't scale. You ever meet someone who takes their job way too seriously? Like it's their entire personality. They correct you on their title. It's not assistant manager. It's associate operations executive. Relax, champ, you're in charge of staplers. But they need that illusion. Without it, the whole identity collapses. They've traded self-worth for status and status for stress, and they can't admit it's a bad deal. So they overcompensate with authority, structure, hierarchy. Because when you're terrified that what you do doesn't matter, the next best thing is pretending it does. And society applauds it. Look at his work ethic. They say, yeah, he's miserable. But at least he's miserable professionally. That's what we value now, professional misery. As long as you're suffering in a suit, you're respectable. But if you're happy in simplicity, they call you lazy. You grow your own food, take long walks, think deeply. And people say, don't you want to do something with your life? As if being alive isn't already something. The illusion of importance is so powerful that even rest has to be justified. You can't just take a day off, you need a reason. I'm decompressing. I'm recharging. No, you're just existing. That used to be enough. Now everything's got to be part of a larger productivity strategy. You can't even breathe without calling it mindfulness. The simple act of being human has become a project to manage. And the saddest part, the real important things are still sitting right there, waiting, unnoticed, unmeasured, unmonetized. Kindness, presence, wonder. Those things don't show up in your KPI report, so we ignore them. You can't put empathy on a ra summe. You can't quantify meaning, and that makes them worthless in a world addicted to metrics. But those are the only things that ever made life worth living in the first place. The illusion keeps us chasing shadows, tells us the next title, the next upgrade, the next accomplishment will finally make it real. But it never does, because you can't fill a void with decoration. You can't build meaning out of motion. You can't fake importance forever without paying a price. The cracks always show. The late nights, the quiet dread, the creeping suspicion that maybe none of this matters, that's your soul trying to wake you up. And when people finally see it, when the illusion cracks, they don't get angry. They get sad because they realize how much time they traded for nothing. All those years spent polishing glass and calling it gold. All those moments of beauty ignored because they didn't look productive. That's when it hits the weight of wasted importance. But here's the twist. The moment you see it, you're free. Because once you stop mistaking noise for significance, the world opens up again. You start to notice real things, laughter, connection, sunlight, silence, things that don't ask you to perform. Things that don't care about your title. You realize that meaning isn't something you earn, it's something you notice. And it was there all along, buried under all that false seriousness. We've spent so long pretending to be important that we've forgotten how to be alive. But life doesn't need you to be important, it needs you to be aware, to show up honestly without the act. Because when the illusion fades, what's left isn't emptiness, it's truth. And truth doesn't shout, it whispers. You just have to stop talking long enough to hear it. And when you finally stop chasing importance, that's when you become something far greater. You become real. You ever notice how everyone's constant, all their way, somewhere, but nobody ever seems to arrive anywhere? The world looks like a racetrack filled with people running in circles, clutching coffee like it's a medal, glancing at watches, muttering about deadlines, and pretending all that movement must mean progress. It's like watching a hamster brag about how many miles it's run on the wheel. The motion's real sure, but the destination, non-existent. That's the modern miracle. We've turned existence into a full-time performance review. Everyone's sprinting to stay still. You walk down a city street, and every face tells the same story, tired eyes, forced purpose. People don't walk anymore, they project forward, phones in hand, Bluetooth in ear, faces tense with imaginary urgency. And for what? To reply to an email faster than the other guy who's replying to an email. It's like a competition for who can care the most about nothing. That's what society's motto really is. Not work hard, not stay focused, but keep moving so you don't have to think. We've mistaken constant motion for meaning. We think if we're always doing something, we must be someone. That's why silence scares people, because silence is where truth hides. You ever try sitting still in a coffee shop without pulling out your phone? People look at you like you're committing a crime. They get nervous. They think you're plotting something. Because in this world, stillness is suspicious. If you're not visibly busy, people assume you're broken. But let's be honest, most of this busyness isn't even chosen. It's inherited. It's built into the script. From the minute you're born, they start handing you props. Here's your little desk. Here's your little task. Here's your little list of things that matter. You grow up thinking the goal is to fill the day with as much as possible. Like life's a grocery cart that gets judged at checkout. You start measuring your worth by how heavy your load looks, but you never stop to ask what's in it. And the system loves that. The busier you are, the less time you have to notice you're being conned. They don't need to chain you to a desk. They just need to convince you that sitting there makes you noble. Look at him working late. No, look at him wasting his life. We glorify exhaustion like it's evidence of importance. People brag about how little they sleep, how much they're grinding, how many emails they've sent before sunrise. You don't sound impressive. You sound captured. It's like the whole society's in this unspoken contest to prove who can tolerate the most nonsense. You ever meet someone who talks about being incredibly busy but can't explain what they're actually doing? That's the anthem of the modern age. I'm so slammed. With what? Just things. Translation, I'm doing a lot of things that don't matter, but I'm too scared to stop. Because if I stop, I'll have to face how empty it all feels. The world runs on this fear of stillness. That's why every device we own is designed to interrupt us. You can't even think anymore without a notification elbowing your mind. The constant buzz of fake urgency keeps everyone hypnotized. You ever wonder why people check their phones every 30 seconds, even when nothing's happening? It's because deep down they can't handle the quiet. The quiet might ask questions. The quiet might whisper, what are you doing all this for? And that's the one question no one wants to hear. We live in a time when people confuse attention for achievement. I'm trending. So what? A mosquito trends every time it bites the wrong person. Doesn't make it meaningful. Everything's become about optics, how things look, not what they are. The illusion of being busy has become more valuable than actually doing anything. You've got influencers teaching time management who've never managed a damn thing. Coaches selling motivation to people who wouldn't need it if the world wasn't designed to drain them dry. And the language! The corporate poetry of fake importance. Let's circle back, touch base, leverage synergies. You're not leveraging anything. You're pretending your calendar means something. You're padding time with words so it sounds like you did something today. It's verbal wallpaper, and everyone keeps adding layers because if you strip it down to the truth, there's nothing underneath. Just humans desperate to matter in a system that only values motion. The irony is, the busier we get, the less we accomplish. Ever notice that? We fill our schedules until there's no room left to think. Then wonder why nothing changes. Real progress, real creativity comes from pause, from reflection, from the gaps between doing. But we've eliminated the gaps. We're like a song that's been remixed to remove all the rests, just endless noise, no melody. The rhythm's gone, but the beat keeps pounding. Even when people relax, they do it competitively. I'm going on a mindfulness retreat. I'm doing a digital detox. You're still performing. You just changed costumes. Real rest isn't something you post about. It's something you sink into. But that's too slow for this culture. We can't stand slow. Slow feels unproductive. And in a world obsessed with business, being unproductive feels like a crime. And let's talk about multitasking, the religion of the modern worker. Everyone's multitasking like it's a superpower. It's not. It's mental juggling with no applause at the end. You're not getting more done. You're just doing more things poorly faster. But we call that efficiency. We've built a society that worships half attention. We don't want depth. We want the illusion of involvement. It's like watching people skim through life the way they skim through a terms of service agreement, scrolling past all the parts that matter. Even conversations become a performance. People don't talk. They wait for their turn to speak. You can see it in their eyes. The impatience, the rehearsed response loading up while you're still talking. Nobody's listening because listening doesn't look busy enough. Listening's too passive. We need to appear active, engaged, in the mix. So we fill the air with words that mean nothing, gestures that signal effort, and smiles that hide exhaustion. The funniest part is how proud people are. They wear busy like a badge of honor. You ask someone how they're doing, and they don't say good anymore. They say busy, like that's supposed to impress you. Oh, wow, busy. You must be important. No, you must be distracted. You've mistaken fatigue for fulfillment. You've replaced being alive with being occupied. You ever notice how even free time has been hijacked? They've turned leisure into another job. You can't just read a book. Now it's building your personal brand. You can't take a walk. It's investing in self-care. You can't enjoy a meal. You've got to post it. Everything's got to be turned into content, proof that you're living a meaningful life while you're too busy documenting it to actually feel it. And kids are learning it early. You see them now, 10 years old, talking about time management and networking. They've got planners, goals, vision boards for what? They're kids. They should be playing scraping their knees, doing absolutely nothing important. But we've programmed them to perform productivity from day one. Because if they ever stopped and felt joy without purpose, they might grow up realizing how fake this whole circus is. It's wild. You can trace the entire structure of society through this obsession. From schools to offices to politics, all built around activity over meaning. Schools don't teach you how to think. They teach you how to stay occupied. Offices don't measure contribution. They measure time spent pretending. Politicians don't solve problems. They stage initiatives. It's all optics. Everyone's managing appearances. The world's become a showroom where every human being is an unpaid actor in a 24-hour performance called Look Busy, Stay Relevant. And here's the cosmic joke. The planet's on fire, species are disappearing, inequality's exploding, and yet half of humanity's main concern is inbox zero. That's where the business gets truly dangerous. It distracts us from the big stuff. We're so buried in the trivial we don't notice the tectonic. We're rearranging our apps while the foundation cracks. But hey, as long as you've got your morning routine and your to-do list, everything feels under control. It's this illusion of control that keeps us docile. Business gives the illusion that you're steering something. I'm managing my life. No, your life's managing you. It's keeping you too occupied to revolt, too distracted to dream, too tired to question. They don't need to censor ideas anymore. They just drown them in noise. The constant rush drowns curiosity, and curiosity is the first thing you lose when you start living like a stopwatch. You know what's wild? If an alien landed here, they'd think hurry was a sacred word. It's everywhere. Hurry, limited offer. Hurry before it's gone. Everything's urgent, even nonsense. We've turned time into a commodity, but not in the smart way, in the stupid, self-destructive way. We treat minutes like money, but spend them like idiots. We waste hours on meaningless activity. Then complain we don't have time for what matters. It's like eating junk food all day and wondering why you're starving.